Well, it is UCF's final bye week before they hit the final stretch of the season. The big question, can they make it to a bowl game? We're going to go through all the rest of the games and determine if that will happen. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Charge On. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green. As always, we are sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Guys, UCF's on an off week. We know this, but that doesn't stop you from betting on college football, NBA, NFL, as long as you're not a player in the NBA. But use FanDuel. Fans, it's the best app to use, the best lines, and UCF's back to football next week. So get in your fix this week by going to FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, and a proud sponsor of the Charge On podcast. Bye week. Listen, I like the 2 bye weeks. I do. It gives time for me to recharge. And I'm not a player, so I'm sure the players needed a lot more. But listen, the season's a grind, man. You have to make content each week. We have stuff on Saturdays every single week, whether it be the live watch-alongs, whether it be, going to the games and stuff. So the 2 bye weeks definitely help split it up, right? So you got we had the first bye week after the third game, then you get 5 straight weeks. Now we get the second bye week, and then we go 5 straight weeks of content and games. And what have we always said, right? That this season specifically was designed to be a rebuilding year 0 for Scott Frost. And if by some chance UCF was able to go to a bowl game, that would be an immense win. Now, I'm under the impression now that everything I've seen so far this season gives me confidence regardless. So I do want to throw that out there, that if UCF somehow does not go to a bowl game, and we're going to go through all the games and talk about UCF's chances and what needs to happen for them to win 2 more games, the program is on the right track. We'll get into recruiting here in the next couple months. I think there's some positive developments about that give me a little bit more hope on the recruiting aspect of it, because right now it's a little shaky. That's a fact. But football-wise, coaching-wise, player-wise, the foundation seems like it's been built. The foundation seems to be that Scott Frost came in with his staff, or the staff he created, and has really defined his culture for what he wants UCF to be. A never-give-up attitude. A do more with less attitude. And listen, yes, UCF went on a 3-game losing streak, and yes, they were the first 3 conference games of the season. But when you go down and look at it, you played Kansas State, who is playing a lot better. They're not world beaters by any means, but first road game after the tragic, loss of Sean Clark, and you lose by 2 touchdowns. And UCF didn't play well in that game, but, you move on. You bounce back with a competitive game against Kansas in a game that arguably you should have won. You should have won the game. And then you go to Cincinnati with your, realistically, 3rd-string quarterback in Cam Fancher. And if you just play a little better on offense, you potentially win that game. And then you come back last week and absolutely obliterate West Virginia. And I think, listen, we'll get into the 5 games here now, but your final stretch is tough. And we said, it'd be nice if you could win one on the road here, like a Cincinnati, stealing one, because then that gives you a little bit of leeway to mess up and to lose maybe a game that you weren't supposed to lose. But now we've said, the likelihood of you winning a game on the road here is unlikely. So you have 2 chances, realistically, to get 2 wins. Now, who knows? When I talk through it, maybe we'll come up with a way that UCF can win some of these games. But it's going to be tough. But I think regardless, will I be disappointed if UCF doesn't go to a bowl game? Yes, absolutely. I think UCF, again, it's kind of a jumping off point into next season. It gives your program, it is just a bowl game. And like we said, like ultimately, the ultimate goal is to not go to bowl games. The ultimate goal is to get to a Big 12 title. The ultimate goal is to go to the college football playoff. But if you go to a bowl in Scott Frost's first year with 70 new players, brand new coaching staff, that helps you in recruiting. That helps your players say, we see what you're building. Because when you just keep going down every year and winning 4 games, that's when you are questioning yourself and saying, okay, like, do I want to be a UCF? So let's kind of talk through the rest of the slate, if you will, and kind of talk about chances. Now, caveat, we're starting with next Saturday at Baylor. And I said, you really don't have a good chance to win any of the road games. This right here is your best chance to steal a win. Baylor's a very up and down team. I think they've got a really good offense, but again, it's up and down. They beat SMU earlier this year, 48-45. They lost to Arizona State at home, 27-24, which I think if UCF wants to beat Baylor, that's going to have to be the game kind of that you in the fashion you do it in. Baylor's been scoring really high. Like they scored 35 against Kansas State. They scored 36 against TCU. You need to keep Baylor under 30 points. If you can keep Baylor to 24, 27 points, UCF has a good chance to win. The minute they go over 30, I think for UCF going on the road, it's going to be a struggle. But they have Cincinnati tomorrow, right? They have Cincinnati tomorrow. A ranked Cincinnati going to Cincinnati. So if you're UCF, you've got, whereas in Kansas State, right, they were coming off of a bye week. We had to travel to Kansas State. I think you can make the argument, hey, UCF on a bye week, getting a week off to prepare, and Baylor having to go play a ranked Cincinnati team, that kind of gives you a little bit of a, okay, extra week to prepare, having to go to Baylor, yes. But that, I think, is the game that if you want to steal one, I think if you beat Baylor, you're going to a bowl game. Because we'll get to Oklahoma State here in a little bit. But if you beat Baylor, you go to a bowl game. Simple and plain as that. And I think it's the most winnable road game on the slate. Do I have UCF winning this game right now? No, I don't. I think UCF will probably lose this game. But it's not, I say UCF has a better chance against a team like Baylor than they did against a Cincinnati. Or, that sort of, I think it's probably comparable, if we're being honest. Because, again, I don't think Cincinnati's that good. UCF kind of proved that. And I also think UCF's defense is just really good. So if UCF's defense can show up and hold that Baylor offense to less than 30, which they have proven that they can do against most teams. The only team that scored more than 30 on this UCF defense in the Big 12, or really all year, was Kansas State. So, listen, it's doable. It is very doable. Now we'll go to Friday, November 7th. Short week, because you're playing on a Friday, but Houston. Here's my issue with if you lose to Baylor. If you lose to Baylor, and then you play Houston on a short week the next week, it is a must win. And Houston, listen, though I don't think Houston is very good, they are 6-1. They are. Like, they've done what they've supposed to do. They beat the teams that they're supposed to beat. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting. They play Arizona State at Arizona State. I think that's going to be really the test on, is Houston legit, or is Houston beating just okay football teams? They beat Colorado early in the year, 36-20. Granted, I don't think that was I don't think it was a conference game, if I remember correctly. Maybe it is. But they beat Colorado by over 2 touchdowns. Beat Oregon State by 3. Oregon State's not very good. Oregon State is 0-5. Or what is Oregon State? Hold on. 1-7. So Houston it was at Oregon State, but they beat them by 3 points. They got killed by Texas Tech at home, 35-11. Then they beat Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State, 39-17. So again, beat a team like that they're supposed to beat. And then they had a good win. I think Arizona's an okay team. They beat Arizona by 3 at home. So if you really go down the list, I mean, they're not world beaters. Houston is not world beaters. Yes. Have they played decent football? Yes. Have they played okay football? I mean, Connor Wegman, not really giving up anything. He's thrown 2 interceptions this year, 11 touchdowns passing. They can run the football, which has really helped them this year. But I think if you're UCF and you look at the slate, the 2 home games are the games you need. And if you go and lose to Baylor, you're 4-4, you need 2 wins. Houston is a must-win. And if you lose to Houston, the likelihood of you going to a bowl game basically drops to probably by a lot. You're probably in the single digits percentage of going to a bowl game. Because at that point, you're almost guaranteed 5 wins, but you might not win one of the other ones. It is space game. And I know everybody just is like, you have to mark that as a win. I get it. But at the end of the day, anything can happen. So we'll see what Houston can do tomorrow. But I definitely think that it's a must-win game. It is a must-win. Now, if you beat Baylor, and this is why I say, Baylor is just as important, because if you can beat Baylor, then you can accidentally slip up, lose your first space game to Houston, and it's probably okay. It's probably okay. But again, crazy thing would be if you beat Baylor, beat Houston, and then you beat Oklahoma State, you're a 7-win football team. And that would be crazy. I think right now the ceiling for UCF is 7 and the floor is 5. Which, what do you know? That's what we said at the beginning of the season. We said that. We said the ceiling is going to be 7 wins. You could potentially get to 8 if you win a bowl game, which is crazy. The ceiling is 7. The floor is 5. Again, in Scott Frost's first year, if we all said that, that's what you would take. So, Houston must-win game. Then you go the next week to Texas Tech. Folks, I don't want to, get your hopes up. I don't want to prolong the talk about Texas Tech. I still really like Texas Tech. I know they lost last week. UCF is not going to be competitive in that game. I think they might lose by a couple touchdowns or 2-3 touchdowns. And who knows? Maybe they put up a good fight. Texas Tech is just loaded. They are a really good football team. And that's why when we said, coming out of the bye, those first 2 games are crucial. Baylor and Houston are crucial because then it gets your last 3 games, specifically 2 of them, are games that there's probably little to no chance of you winning. So you go to Texas Tech, that's an automatic loss. If you can go beat a Baylor or Houston, you feel comfortable because it's okay, let's just go compete with Texas Tech. We're not supposed to win this game. And then you come home and you play in Oklahoma State. So UCF's probably not winning that game, and we all know that. Okay. The next week, Saturday, November 22nd, Oklahoma State at home. UCF's final home game of the season. They are 1-6 right now. They play Texas Tech tomorrow. So we can assume they're going to be 1-7. Then they play at Kansas. That's probably 1-8. Then they're at home against Kansas State. That's 1-9. This OSU team is not good. Not good at all. Let me just tell you their scores. They beat UT Martin 27-7 to start the season. Oregon, they lost 69-3. And that was the game where oh God, this is a bad Oklahoma State team. If they can't even compete they can't compete. Then they lost to Tulsa And that's the game that then they fired Mike Gundy. They lost 19-12. Then I will say, they put up 27 against Baylor. 45-27. They did lose by 18 points. But the fact of the matter is, they put up 27. So in my head, I'm like, oh, there we go. Okay, like Oklahoma State might be a little bit more challenging. Well, last 3 weeks, they've played Arizona, Houston, and Cincinnati. Arizona, they put up 13 points, and they gave up 41. Houston, they lost 39-17, and against Cincinnati, they lost 49-17. So when everybody's saying, oh, there's an automatic win there. Yes, Oklahoma State is either just as bad or worse than West Virginia. So if that tells you anything, UCF's home. They have the better roster. They have a more stable roster, stable coaching staff. The assumption will be UCF should win that game. And that's why we say the floor is 5 wins. I don't see UCF losing that game. Even if it's close, which I would be shocked if it was. UCF should win that game. Hands down, Oklahoma State is going to be coming in probably a 1-9 football team. 1-9. So, there you have it. There's a win for UCF there. Probably hands down. And then your final week. Saturday, November 29th. Going to at BYU. Now, obviously, you're playing a ranked Texas Tech team and a ranked BYU team. And right now, BYU is the best team in the conference. They're ranked number 11. You're going to lose that game. I mean, you're going to BYU late into November. Going to be really cold. You're a Florida team against a really talented BYU team. Now, I do think UCF will be able to do some things on defense there. I don't think it's going to be as big of a blowout as Texas Tech will be, just because I think UCF does match up better with BYU. But you also have to remember, UCF is just not there yet to be able to compete. And granted, they competed against Cincinnati, but you kind of even saw that. Like, UCF couldn't really do anything on offense against a top team. I do think they'll be able to do some things against BYU, but this is where we come full circle. So you have toss-up games against Baylor and Houston. You have a win against Oklahoma State. And you have losses against Texas Tech and BYU. So right now, your losses, you're 4-3. Your losses you have 5 wins and 5 losses. If we're talking about automatic losses and automatic wins. You have 1 automatic win and 2 automatic losses. So it's 5-5. And your toss-ups are Baylor and Houston. You need to win 1 time in the next 2 weeks. And if you lose, there's just going to be the assumption that you're not beating Texas Tech, you're not beating BYU, you're probably getting to 5 wins, and you get an early offseason. Now the real question is, do I think UCF will get to 6 wins? Yes, I do. I think they are going to beat either Baylor or Houston. If I had to put money on it, I would say they beat Houston. It's a home game, space game, short week for both Houston and UCF. Is Houston coming off a bye week there? I don't think so. Hold on. Who do they play November 1st? If it would tell me. I guess they're playing West Virginia. So they are getting somewhat of a bye week. They're playing West Virginia. But I think if you were to give me a path, it's beating Houston, beating Oklahoma State. And I think for UCF, that is very doable. I think it should get fans really excited because I think regardless, a bowl game this year would be huge. Absolutely huge for this team. And I think then the sky's the limit. You can recruit, say we won 6 to 7 games in our first year. Hell, if you could beat Baylor and Houston and Oklahoma State, 7 wins, potentially 8 wins in your first year, that's asking a lot, but it's still. And then I think I think players, recruits, transfers are going to be foaming at the mouth to come to UCF and play for Scott Frost and understanding that UCF is building something special in just 1 year at UCF under this new head coach. All right, everybody, that's going to do it. Let me know what you think. Do you think UCF is going to get to 6-6, get to a bowl game in Scott Frost's first year? Do you think it's going to get 5 wins? Hell, do you think UCF will not win another game this season? I highly doubt it, but let me know down in the comments below. We really want to hear from you. And as always, we're sponsored by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. I don't know what the line was before the season, but I'm sure the line was around 5.5, 4.5 for UCF. Hopefully they can win you a bet, but if not, you could still make bets now on FanDuel. Use FanDuel, best lines out there. Again, they play next week at Baylor. Don't have an opening line yet, but when they do, we will let you know, and you'll probably want to go hit on whatever bets you want to because FanDuel has the best lines out there, and they are a proud sponsor of the Charge On podcast. Everybody, please like, subscribe, share, comment, do all that you do. We greatly appreciate it. We'll be back next week, Thursday, with our preview of Baylor. No live watch along next week. I'm out of town. I will be getting a podcast up, but there will be no live watch along. Just wanted to let you guys know. So you don't get to see me crash out potentially per usual. But we will be releasing normal content as normal. Everybody, this has been Charge On, presented by FanDuel. We will see you next week.